Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Let's Go Talk Show with Renae and Tracy back again for some hopefully really interesting and thought-provoking conversation. And again, any questions, feel free to put them in the, I was just say put them in the chat. Feel free to put them down in the whatever that is down here in YouTube. You will notice today, at least for me, it's very difficult to get some words out. I don't know what's happening. So if we
Oh yeah.
stumble around or whatever, you'll know what's going on. So we both wanted to start off talking about, I had gotten the message last week, the week before, something like that, that there is no longer darkness. The light has won. And we talked about that in my first one, right? We
Yep.
talked about that in the first talk show. And there is no more darkness. And what they're showing is everything's now shadow. The dark had to take on light. So it's now a shadow part. So how they're showing it is like picture the shadow here, right? Okay, shadow, and then this is the light. And what's now happening is if you are being drawn to, because all these little things are being planted out, you're getting information, people are talking things and they're saying, which way are you going to take this information? Are you going to go into the shadow part or are you going to stay in the light? So right now we are really being, the word that's really coming to is forced. So I'm going to use that one. So we're being forced to choose, and everything's a choice. Tracy and I were talking about that. Everything's a choice. So you're choosing light or you're choosing to go into the shadow part. The nice thing about the shadow part is you go so deep into that shadow part, you're going to come out on the other end, which is light, because there's no longer dark. Like that is so exciting to me because you know how we were saying, like we're all holding the space. You can have any conversation, you can have any thought that you'd like, and we're going to hold the space for you. If you think that you're going or someone, my family's not waking up, they're not doing it, who cares? We're holding the space for them. It's okay for them to be and have the experience they're having because everybody's holding that space. But how exciting is that they're going right through and they're going into light anyway? So eventually everybody's in light. And I think I've said this before that everybody in this field that we're all talking this stuff, we're all just saying it in different ways. The end result is all the same. So if we're saying something that doesn't resonate with you, okay, don't take it in. Go find who does resonate, or maybe we're saying certain things that do resonate and then others don't. Okay, that's okay. That these are opinions. It doesn't have to be yours. This is what works in our life. This is what happens in our life. But I'm very excited about this whole part of no more darkness. And I'm going to throw it to you, Trace. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, yay, so exciting.
Yeah.
And I think I would encourage everybody to kind of really tap in. And the best way I can explain it is it's not as if we're not going to have some challenges or some rub against in our life. But what I've noticed for me is there's not these like hard edges. So again, the dark was so hard and really like just bash your head up against it. The shadow is okay. Do you want to touch back into that again? And again, I love Renae, like which way are you going to go? And as you were seeing that, it's a very definitive, you can fast track to, let's just say, your dream life. Or you can keep taking these spindly back roads. And again, is there right or wrong? Not really. It's just what track you want to get there. And I love real life examples. And when you said that, you reminded me, I own a restaurant and there's a lot of changes going on in the world, obviously. And there's a lot of dynamics within every industry. So there's a lot of dynamics that are changing and will change within the restaurant industry. And it's inevitable. What's the only thing that, change is inevitable. So I have said a couple of times to managers and my husband and everyone, oh, well, I know by the end of the year what this restaurant's going to look like. It's how we all collectively choose to get there because, right, we're all making decisions amongst the way. And, I just asked for show me the bigger perspective. And it's funny because when it comes out of my mouth, I'm like, how do you know what it's going to look like? And even if you think it's going to look that way, how do you know that that's really what it's going to look like? And for even me to be like, Well, because that's what I feel. That's what I would like. That's what feels good. That's what has flow. That what feels good for everybody involved. So I'm going to stick with that. So now I'm going to say that's all magnetics. Me allowing all of these thoughts and perspectives and me being in conversation with myself and then be able to talk it over with Renae. I think it's cool for everyone to just consider how you really are stewarding your own life while being in collaboration with all of those around you and giving them room to do their due in this collective path that we're going on. I just went way off, didn't I? Did
No,
I?
no, no, not at all. You went right into magnetics, which is perfect because that is it sort of tied right in when you said, your dream life. It's all about magnetics and how things are, connecting. And you talked about that in the first one, and then in the second. And I think we really have to dive a little more into that because you were telling me off camera about the experience you had with Kate and your body. And I think that's a huge thing of the magnetics. So, like, for me, it gave me a great visual, and I think it would do the same for everybody else of how we really are creating and magnetizing things to us and, flipping that whole script. So if you can talk, about that, that would be awesome.
Okay. And I really do think the conversations that we have might seem like very different topics, but we're really saying the same thing in so many different ways of saying it. So I love my facials. If you listen to When Pigs Fly or know me at all, I love my facial. So last week I went and had an appointment for a facial. And this is an example of how life starts to just open up for you if you keep allowing it, asking for it, being aware, and all the things, like catch yourself in the old programming and patterning and pull yourself out. But so I go in to get a facial, and of course, Kate got in all this new product and she created this new facial. And guess what? I was there on the first day that she had it and offered it. So these are the things that start happening in your life that are, oh, let's delight you. How can we delight you? So, you get to show up and just be delighted all the time. It's so cool. Anyway, so I sat down, and when I get a facial from Kate, I usually really like to watch the not only the magnetics happening, but be in. She uses the most amazing products of all these natural elements of, fruits and plants and earth elements and even crystals and stones. And it's just like this wonderland of amazingness. So I was laying on the table and she's telling about all these great things she's going to do and, what the Elevate facial, don't you love it? Elevate, of course.
Mm, love it.
And I kind of was said, just don't watch, just be in it. Like stop trying to analyze it. And because I love that. I love to analyze. And so what I saw is my body turned into trillions. What I saw it as is little like four-leaf clovers. They just have the little stem and then they have like the little receptor point. So again, with the magnetic, so trillions of these little receptor points all over my body, just receiving so much. There's so much that we are receiving. We can't even know or put it into words, from Kate's energy to her touch to all the elements that she put on. And I will be I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna own it. I told Renae earlier, I'm like in this, magic land of transformation and with the messaging of let your body be caterpillar mush. Like just let go of all the definitions of organs and bones and tissues and be in this caterpillar mush of receiving. So, we're touching into the void, zero point, all these things. I freaked out, guys. Totally like freaked out on the table, started to get dizzy. And what's beautiful is within seconds, Kate came down to my calves and my feet and just started massaging them. And of course, me, I'm like, how does she know? How does she know that I was floating way out there, freaked myself out, and needed to come back down? So, anyway, so much here. Have fun, explore. If you freak out, it's okay. Find someone like Renae to talk it out with. Anyway, I'm going to let you go from there, Renae.
I love that because we've all done that. We've all done that little freaking like, oh my God, my body starts to feel whatever, like lightheaded, dizzy, whatever it is. But know that that's all that's really happening at that moment is the brain is demagnetizing. So it can go out into a further consciousness. So if you know that, maybe that'll help a little bit. But I sort of want to go when you were talking about, oh, I love to analyze. We have to realize that for all of us that are analyzers, and I say us, I'm not an analyzer. I tend to, okay, whatever. That happened and move on. Sometimes I get into analyzing, but if we get into that, what we have to realize about this energy right now is that really is going out the window. We can we can no longer go into that point of I have to figure this out. I have to figure if this energy is about feeling. And that your story was just perfect with that because everything is remagnetizing. We are magnetizing to us what it is we want in our life. If you're sitting there in a crappy job that you hate and that I'm going to leave, I'm going to leave, I'm going to leave, and you never do, well, guess what? You're keeping those magnets right into that field. What are you doing to shift that? What are you doing to remagnetize into something else? Same thing with the relationship. If you're in this relationship that you're not happy in, but it's just a comfort zone, what are you doing to remagnetize it? What are you doing for yourself to reshift that whole point? And it's just a matter, and maybe it's you reshift, you remagnetize your field of what that relationship is, or what that job is, or what that whatever is, what your financial situation is. You're remagnetizing. A lot of times you see things differently. It doesn't necessarily mean you leave the job. It could be that something in the job changes, and all of a sudden you're seeing it through new eyes. It was like Tracy, you had said that off camera. Two people can have the exact same experience and have the complete polar opposite what they saw or what they felt. And you were like, what? How did that even happen? So it's that aspect of let's stop or do the best we can to not analyze, but okay, look, I'm going with the flow. I'm just going to go into that higher consciousness that is beyond my human understanding, because that's where we have to be. And when you're doing that, that's where I see the magnetic start to reshift and go into a whole other field and a whole different way of being. And when you were saying, I wrote down like, I said, all we are receiving. I don't know what that had to do with it, but I had something to say about it and it's not coming back yet. So I'm going to throw it to you and see what you have to say about all that.
Well, and I think Renae did her a meditation yesterday, and I saw this. I talked last show about the magnetics and stop magnetizing what you don't want and magnetize in what you do, and that is super cool, super powerful, and super valid. So I also saw because I like to give thanks to Renae, and she does these meditations and how powerful information comes in of this state of pure presence. And a lot of people are talking about 0 point and the void and, no time, no space, but which is cool in concept. But what I was seeing is if you can get to that spot of not beyond magnetizing what you want to come in, you move beyond the brain and the analytics and, well, I want this because this would, make my life better or this would make me happy. And it's kind of this really weird thing of just being in such a state of know and flow that you absolutely know that not only is what's coming in for you going to be what you want, but potentially so much better than you could have even thought. And unless you want to jump off from there, I would just want to give a couple examples.
Yeah, no, I love examples because I think that helps people.
Okay, so, and I'm sure everyone's heard this, that it's all an inside job and don't try and change those around you, especially your family. Well, if they would just show up like this, if they would stop doing that, I really, really have been practicing, I guess is the right word, to just stay in this field of, I'll call it flow and know. Of course, everything is going to start presenting in a way that is delightful to me. And I shared off screen with Renae. So many examples of that are coming to my life. I'll just give you a couple. My daughter's off at college. She does not like to get up early. She doesn't even feel good when she gets up early. This past quarter, she loves her 8 a.m. class. Like in me, I'm like, oh gosh, why does she have to do an 8 a.m. class? Oh no, me, like, get that out of your head. She loves it. She's like, this is my new thing. I absolutely love my 8 a.m. class. What? How does that happen? Or, I'll go into my businesses and things, it's like I feel like I just walked into another world, that the decisions that they made the day before, um, just what we had a really busy Saturday at the restaurant, and it should have been a shit show, to be quite honest. Nope, went great. Everything just flowed. So I like to give, I didn't strategize either of those situations. I just have been sitting in my house holding this field, this feeling, this magnetic of course, it's going to pan out for me. Okay, and I have to share this because it's hysterical and it's coming to me. After my Elevate facial with all this yummy goodness, oh my gosh, life is miraculous. I hit and killed a squirrel on the way home. Tried to, so this is real life, people. And I was like, what? Why would you do that to me? Why would you bring, I am like literally floating. And I try not to hit the squirrel, bam, got the squirrel, right? Like these are the things in life. Like, what the? So, of course, it's like, why would you assume that's bad? What's your problem with death? Why do you think death is bad? Why did you just go right back down into that good, bad, death sucks? Oh my God, you killed something. Like, ooh, that is such restricted limiting. You might have just made that squirrel like, thanks, mama, on to the next field. You know what I mean? So I like to tell these stories because life is life. And it's what so I spideyed out to the little squirrel. Dude, are you okay? Yeah, man, I'm on to the next journey. Thanks. So, do you see? It's awesome.
What I loved about that story is because when you were saying that you hit the squirrel, because when we were talking off camera, we never got to that point because we tend to go
Yes,
all
we
over. But what I loved about that was that squirrel chose you in that elevated state to, to hit it so that it could go on to its next level. Like, and that's the thing, when those things happen, first of all, I love that whole part of like, well, why did you go back? Because I never even thought about it. Why did you go back down into that? Like right or wrong, good or bad. And it's that whole point of course the squirrel was okay. It chose you. That's why I've got one friend who had a bird come in. She was like, "Oh my God, it hit the window, whatever." And she got it, and she was nursing it for days, and then it died, and she was just a basket case. And I said, "But don't you see? It needed to be in your consciousness. It came into it chose you to die in front of it because it was a safe place. It was thing, and exactly like with you with the squirrel, you were in this great elevated space, this beautiful consciousness." That it was like, okay, this is going to be something really good, opposed to somebody hitting it and not giving a crap. Yeah, it was just a squirrel, just whatever. And putting that energy into it. You have this elevated state and this caring that allowed it to really carry through and move on to its whole other state, of being that it wanted to be. Like, I think that's awesome. Like,
That's why I love you as a friend, Renae.
a lot of people will say, like, why is it I can have the most horrible experience and you somehow swing it into a positive? I'm like, because that's what they all are. They
Yep.
really are all of these wonderful experiences, but we've got to expand the consciousness of get out of our human field and what we know to be right or wrong, because they've said a billion times that's all wrong. It's all it's we came here to experience these things and we're experiencing them. but that's not who we are. So it's not, they don't say wrong, I say wrong. They just say, no, it's just an experience. It's just, something you had. But now the whole experience in that human world is about moving beyond the right, the wrong, that person's not for me, that, like all of that, and just everybody becoming one so that everything is okay. So when you run into somebody that has a completely different, I'll say, experience than you, that is saying, oh my God, this is horrible in the world, or like, don't do your best not to go into that shadow part. Stay in the light, but let them have their thing, because what's happening is your energy, if you can stay in that light, your energy is now surrounding and engulfing that person to see the light. And I'm not saying that I see the light, like I always think, oh my God, okay, yeah, that's awesome. Like, we're in this beautiful, I'm in this beautiful state of being, like, this is perfect. Well, then 3 days later, I'm like, whoa, no, this is perfect. This is great. This is the light. The light is the light. Don't judge it. Don't think that I'm judging, because I'm not judging. It's that piece of, like, when I say they go into the shadow part and then they'll eventually go to the light. It's not what I consider light. It's the light. Does that make sense? Am I?
I yes. Well, and it's such a good, I just want to add there, like it's so big. And I will say that I find myself holding my boundaries, and that could be construed as not, someone gets in a conversation, I just won't let it, I'll share some perspective because yeah. Yeah, I did see there what you were doing, and me getting into words again is I'm kind of lost.
Right. Yeah. No, but I like that, because when you're letting people be in their own field, and they might be barking, they might be saying it nicely, and you can bring in your perspective to help them see or understand, and you as well. Like, you always stay open. Like, I always stay open. Somebody could be saying something to me that I don't necessarily agree with or feel right with, but I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to hold the space open, because maybe they're right. Maybe I'm wrong. Certainly, if you look back at your life, I'm sure there were things that you were standing so strong on many years ago that you're like, oh man, that was so not right. Well, first, it was right for that moment of time, is the whatever I'm getting, but we always change. Remember, every 7 years you change everything, in your system, including your personality. So always be open for those shifts and those changes, but also allow people to be them. You don't have to end a relationship, with your family or whatever, because they love somebody that you don't like, or, whatever the situation is. It's like saying, I don't like this food. Oh, well, forget it. I love that food, so now I can't talk to you. That's just crazy. So, it's the same thing out in the world. Start to recognize we are all one. You are sharing an energy, a frequency, a vibration with everyone and everything in this world. So that is a piece and a part of you. So if you're saying, I'm at that person, I can't stand that person, I hate that person, and you're talking bad about them, whatever, you are creating separation in your body from an energetic point. And I will tell you, from years ago, they showed me, I was working with some cancer patients, and I said, why, where is this starting from? And they said all illness started from an energetic separation, and they were brought down. So from that point, every time I work somewhere, I'm like, okay, let's go to the beginning point. And then I go underneath that. They go underneath, like, okay, let's start under. If anybody worked with me, it's always like, okay, let's go underneath all of that. Let's go under the root systems, go up, and now we're going to shine light out, because then the light just, seals it all. So just always know you're creating separation within your body the more you dislike or whatever with somebody else. And what they're saying is, going back to the magnetics, what they're saying is your magnetics are causing an infrastructure breakdown within your energetic field and the field of the knowing. So it's your knowing. So sometimes you will not understand what is happening in your knowing part, which usually steps up and is like, okay, wait, let's calm things down. It'll give you conflicting answers, or knowing, or thoughts, or feelings, because you've created that break in your infrastructure. They're saying you can, recreate an infrastructure, by going into the next consciousness. But they're saying the more you're, I hope I'm making sense. So Tracy, follow me on this. So the more you're sitting in that shadow part and judging everyone and everything, you don't know the big picture. They're saying we do not know the big picture. We are all getting into that light. It's a matter of stopping the hatred, stopping the fight, and going back into, okay, maybe possibly my life, my experience, I'm going to experience this. I'm going to experience everything being wonderful and joyful. And not that it always is, because again, we judge it. But this is what I want in my life. I want everything to be smooth and happy and joyful. And when you go into what you were saying is whatever, the 0 point, that space of nothing, that's when, and I don't know if I'm going to say this right, that's when you don't really seem to care about things. And it's just like an emotional draw, it's emotional pull. You don't have that. It's just a knowing that, okay, this is all going to work out okay. And then miraculous things happen in your life, like Tracy had just explained. Did I just go on a tangent?
But good, because a couple of things that I saw in there. The one, again, I love this analogy of there can be an experience, and each person, it can have a very different experience within one experience. You're both in the same situational reality and experience it very different ways. And why can't we both? What I noticed lately is a lot of people want to edit my experience instead of, oh, that's how you see it. Oh, that's how you felt it. It's no, you're wrong. And only because I'm very aware of it. And it's almost like you think that it can't be a possibility. Well, how can there be, Renae and I were talking about it, an experience, and one person thinks it's tragic and one person thinks it's beautiful. By our human mind's definition, those two can't exist, but they can, and it's okay because that's how they need to experience it for whatever reason. But I'm going to experience this way because that's what need. There's so many, again, I love the magnetics. Some people have to be shown stuff for whatever reason or experience stuff, good or bad. Again, detached from those words. They're necessary experiences for their evolution, and that's great. Which goes back to, okay, now let's talk about it. If we go to that 0 point, that I just love, like this unified field of nothingness, which is everything. And if you can start to like hold that when you go out, of course, there's all of these experiences happening all around you, but you hold this neutral presence. And I'm not saying it's easy, guys. I'm saying it's super interesting, fascinating, frustrating, challenging. But if you can start to really play with it, to hold yourself in that field of neutrality and just watch yourself, watch others, and maintain that frequency, because as we know, it's all frequency. Stuff starts to calm down around you or come into alignment. And that doesn't mean everyone thinks the same or feels the same. That means that two people can be in the same experience, having totally different experiences, and it's okay and beautiful. Which again, when you were talking about infrastructures, and also she's talking about internal infrastructures, literally what is going on in your biology and physiology in your physical body, and the magnetic infrastructures of, it's energy field first, then it comes down to physicality. So it's happening on all these levels.
I love that. And also what I think people don't recognize is as we're shifting and changing, because if you're listening to us, like clearly you've been on this path, you're doing things right, and whatever we refer to as the spiritual path. And you've shifted and changed your energy field, your frequency, the vibration, all of that stuff. That is always moving out. So no matter where you go, you're sharing that energy because it's, within that field. Well, because your family, those that you see on a regular basis, or not even see, whatever, but because those are the people that are usually saying, oh my God, they're not coming along. You have to remember, as you hold that space, and just you being you, that energy is changing and shifting for everybody in your household, or everybody that you see on a regular basis, everybody that you talk to. You can talk to them on the phone, you can be texting. The energy is going through. It doesn't know that, okay, this is just a phone. Like, it doesn't know that the energy is going through. So those people are shifting and changing into the experience they need to have. You're helping them as well as them helping you change and shift the vibration and the energies and the frequencies. And they're showing two partners together, okay, and they're showing the energies. This person, they're saying, is on a spiritual path. This person really is not, but they're okay. They're experiencing what they need to experience. They both have a different vibration, a different frequency, but they're creating a third vibration, a third frequency between the two of them. It's either going to jive or it's not going to jive. But if you're together and you're still, whatever, in love or not even love, you're just together, you know that, okay, this clearly is jiving. Well, all three of these energies, these vibrations, these frequencies, they go out, they're spreading out. It doesn't know energy and all that, doesn't know walls. So it just, continues to go and just be. So even though you think somebody's not getting that, we're not this, oh, okay, everybody's got to raise to my vibration. No, somebody else's, my husband, my daughter, my sons, their vibration is coming into it. We're jiving and melding these energies together and helping to create a solid foundation for the Earth's energetic field of togetherness, of oneness, because it's not truthfully fighting. If the energies, they're showing the energies, if they didn't jive into that third energy, that's when the whole magnetic shifts. And now you start to, whatever they call that, depolarization, whatever it is, they start to go out. And then that's okay, because then now they move into the world and the energy goes into somebody else that, oh, wait a minute, we're starting to come together as one. Again, another third frequency is being created between that. We're saying it is always, always, never, ever, ever think that you've met somebody and you have given more than the other. It is always an even exchange of energies, an even exchange of frequency, an even exchange of vibration. And tones. Tones are now coming into play in a very big way. Now, they've been coming in for the last, I don't know, like year or so. But recently, they're saying there's this tone that's entering into the Earth's atmosphere and the Earth's vibrational field, because enough people have become aware, and they always use that number of 144,000, have become aware of what tones and vibration and frequency, how they all work together. Not that I can say that I know, I'm not one of those ones. So I'm like, thank you, bring it all in, let's bring it. But the tones are huge, because we do this, I do know, we do have an internal tone in our body that they say is awakening and shifting into a consciousness that we're going into, that we will be able to make that tone within our own. I don't want to feel like it's through our mouth. Like, do you get anything, Tracy, on that? Like, I feel like it's a tone within the body or something, and that brings out the frequency to be able to heal anything and to expand it out to a new consciousness. Do you get something on that?
Yes, and it's funny you say this because we actually have not talked about this.
Right.
And I have been re-going back into this tone, and it's more of an inner vibration. If you like how it vibrates.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Mm,
that's the best way I can like a vibration that's coming from you, out of you, but it's a tone.
yeah. It for you it makes sense, because when you do that, no time, no space. Can you talk about that a little? Because I think that's what they're saying is that's what's helping to bring that tone to life. So people can do that.
Yeah. Wait, what do you want me to talk about? How?
What do you do? Like, what do you do for when you're like, okay, no time, no space, I'm in this.
So, and I do it in the morning and I do it at night. And I just kind of, I call it the unified field, because that's how I see it. And it's just, I guess it's beyond human consciousness. We've talked about this. There's human consciousness, and then there's there's so many consciousnesses, but it's this field where everything exists. It's just all of it. And you really, gosh, there's so many cool ways. Like it's where you put your attention in that field, but it's just like you're this neutral presence in this field of everything, and you can put your attention in certain spots, which I believe is how we're going to teleport. You just get into this, and it's where you put your attention, and then you'll be in that field. But the same thing, if you can, or not the same thing, if you can go into this field of nothing and everything. And because when I say nothing, it's because you're not attaching to any of your experience, your thoughts, that's the nothingness that that gives you access point to the everything. It's just this, and this is pretty cool. I'm glad we're talking about this. Sometimes it's like this buzz. I just feel like I'm just sitting there buzzing. Sometimes it's a pulsation. So you'll feel it a different way. Why, I don't know, but I think you get to start to explore what it is. And then it obviously opens up, you'll get all these awarenesses. And I will give, to go into no thought, no time, no space is almost a near impossibility for the human. So when you go into it, all of a sudden I could see all these side conversations. I'm like, oh, I'm in no time, no space. Well, okay, so today I have to figure that. Oh yeah, and by next week, and it's like, no, 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 no. And be aware of them. You literally can have like 5 conversations with yourself going on at the same time, which is a little crazy, but also such an awareness of how many dialogues that your brain is running at the same time. It's fascinating to be a witnesser of it and then be like, no, shut that all down. And I'll give the analogy. It works better like if you're in a small plane, if you've ever flown in a 4 or 6 seater plane, same thing in a bigger one, but you have such a bigger safety point. If you've ever been in a small plane and you go through pure cloud coverage, so that, and pilots are trained to fly with their instruments only, because when you're in cloud with the pressures, the cabin's not pressurized, you lose what's up, down, right, or left. That's why the pilots have to fly with their instruments only. They don't look out the window or they could flip a plane. So potentially terrifying if you've ever been in it. And I'm so fortunate to have been in that experience many, many times, because you do talk about pure trust, all your metrics of up, down, all the north, south, east, west, right? Your little compass gets spun out. So you have to lock in to just no time, no space, no thought, pure presence. Like you just are in that pure presence of trust. So that's where I bring myself to. If I'm in just going into that unified field of, 0 point, I give myself that analogy just right here. No, no, no. Don't listen to all the conversations right here, which is so cool. We could prong off on this a million ways, but hopefully I
Yeah.
gave something there of value.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love that. I love that you brought that in. I love the real life experiences because we all experience that stuff. And I think when people are talking about this, they're not telling you about all these, oh, you have all these little side conversations. You just got to be like, nope, nope, I'm right here. I'm right here. Keep bringing yourself in because human mind wants to go into these different places. And what they were saying is when you were saying, like, sometimes it's a hum, sometimes it's a buzz, like you'll feel it differently. What the message that was coming through was you're all feeling it differently because your system is going through a complete change and re-vibrating, re-magnetizing, the frequency changes, all of the sound, all this stuff is changing for that field that you were in. So the next time you do it, you're no longer in that same field. Now you've gone a little deeper. It's always, sometimes I'll do the motion of like going outside, like, oh, we're, conscious not here. It's always just about going deeper within. So what's happening is for lack of a better way to say it, because I feel like there's not really a human word for it, but the word I'll use is you're clearing something within that field. And then the next time you go into that, you're feeling something different. And even if you feel the same thing, let's say if you really feel like, let's say you are feeling this like humming in your body. If you really pay attention, the next time you're feeling that humming, it's going to be different. It's going to be because they're saying it will always be a different frequency. You'll always have a different tone to it. You'll always have a different vibration to it. And then there's this I'm just getting this like symbol, and there's these symbols coming up as well. So that's why it's, if anybody wants to know why it was different, that's why you'll experience it differently.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Oh, the intel.
right. No, that's why I love the conversations and then not knowing, because we don't know. Like, that's why I also love people asking questions, because that's what brings the information forward. It's not a question that I would ever just think to do, like, hey, you know what, why is this different? I'd be like, well, this is different. Oh, that's cool. Like, right.
And can I take the opportunity, because I realize that Renae and I will get in a collaborative conversation, and I swear I can half read her mind half the times, because I know I'm being conscientious to complete my sentences and use words because sometimes we talk in half sentences. I mean, I think we've both
Yep.
are aware of that. So I love questions, because I love to see how people are, well, wait, like, tell me more about this, or how did you know, because I think sometimes you and I feed off each other
Yeah.
and we bypass a lot of the details.
Exactly. And I'll notice it like afterwards. I'll listen after. I'm like, oh my God, you didn't finish the sentence. So if anyone listening doesn't know or wants to know more information, please let us know, because then we can do another one and you know, feed off of that, which is awesome.
Yeah.
That's all I really have for today. You got anything else? Like,
I think that was a lot. I think that was good. I would love to hear any feedback or questions. And yeah, there's always so much good stuff, but I think that's good for today.
good, yeah. And again, you have any questions, anything, let us know. If you like the conversation, please, you know, hit the like button, put the little bell on to get notified when we, you know, post new ones, because you never know. We might just in the middle of the week be like, hey, we're gonna talk about this. And then we post another one. This way you'll be up on it. And if anybody, you know, anybody that you think would benefit from these, go ahead, share it. Share it.
Yep.
Everybody, thank you so much for being here. You have an awesome everything, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Bye.